Yeah. No, I know. I can't really talk though because I'm live. Yeah, no, I'm live. So, yeah, I can't really talk. No, I'm live right now on Broadway World. No, I can't. Yeah, I know, but I can't really talk. Okay? My other phone is ringing, so I have to go. Yeah. No, okay. I know. I know, I know. I know, I gotta go. My other phone is ringing, okay? Hang on a second. Hey, I'll just be with you guys in 1 second, okay? Hello? Yeah. No, I'm going live. I think I'm live right now. No, I can see people are showing up. No, I don't know how to go live. I know nothing about going live. Yeah, but I'm live right now on Broadway World. Okay. All right. No, I gotta go. Okay, I'm gonna go say hi to them. Okay, bye. Hello, Broadway World. Guys, as you can tell, it's a little bit busy here. The phones are ringing off the hook. And I am live for the first time ever. I've never been live before. And I have no idea how to do this, but I'm excited to answer questions. It's an honor that Broadway World has asked me to do this, and I hope you guys, if you've seen the stuff I've been posting on TikTok on Broadway World today, you've been enjoying it. I should introduce myself. My name is David Korins, and I'm a set designer. I work on Broadway sometimes. I'm a creative director. I make fun, funky, cool things, and I'm thrilled to be here with you guys. Happy evening. I can see that there's a lot of people popping up here. Wow, this is so exciting. Jeez. I think I'm supposed to let a little bit of time pass by, but I know that TikTok is a platform where there's not a lot of, people don't spend a lot of time here, so we gotta go. So when I was asked to do this takeover, which was thrilling, I said, how long do you want me to take over for? And they said, thank you so much for loving the videos. This is exciting, people are talking. When I asked how long I should be taking over for, they said anywhere from between 5 minutes and an hour, which seems like an insane threshold. So what I can tell you is I will stay as long as there are questions pouring in, and if there's extra, maybe we'll do another one of these things. In fact, I had this cool idea that maybe I could do this with someone else and we could go live together, but I think we can only do that on another platform, so we'll talk about that at another time. Anyway, I can see a whole bunch of you are here. I'm actually here for you guys. I'm here to answer questions. I'm here to lead us in a rousing, thank you for loving scenic design of Mrs. Doubtfire. Did you see Mrs. Doubtfire, or you just love the stuff that we posted about it? Oh my God, people are asking about the Hamilton pool. Okay, I understand. I'm gonna, one at a time, try and deal with some of these things. Okay, I'm gonna start right now. What's an important skill to have as a set designer? Number one most important skill, I think, is not to know how to draw, not to know how to paint or sculpt or craft. I think the number one most important thing is probably the most important thing for all theater artists and creatives is to communicate. If you can communicate your ideas and take them from here using sometimes a pencil and sometimes some other things, and put them down on paper or communicate them to a group of people, that's probably the most important thing. So communication skills, I think that's like really incredibly important. Obviously knowing how to draw and stuff like that, that's also really important. Do I have any advice for high school students going into the technical theater? Yes. I've said this before a lot. Read as much as you can, see as many movies as you can, TV, consume things, see a lot of shows, find a designer whose work you love, reach out to them. I'm sure they'll be flattered. Call them on the telephone, and study their work, and then try and see if you can work for them. I'm sure that anyone would love to have you, especially nowadays with the arts being upside down and crazy. people are looking for extra sets of hands. The big pencil in the background is just laying around. Yeah, no, it's laying around. It's actually, I got that for a birthday present a couple of years ago, and someone walked into my party. It was like they had it over their shoulder with a huge red bow on it, and they just came prancing through the party and handed it to me and said, "You need a pencil that is as big as your ideas are." And I was like the most excited person. It was like one of the greatest gifts I've ever gotten, and it's here in my office, so I'm very excited to have it. Okay, let's see. I'm going to try and answer some questions for you guys. How blurred is the line between lighting and video when it comes to accenting a scenic design? I mean, I think video has come so far. Some of the shows that I profiled today on TikTok on Broadway World use video. Obviously, Beetlejuice uses video, and Peter Negrini, the video designer, and Ken Posner, the lighting designer, work like completely hand in hand. The work that happens between those two disciplines in particular is like absolutely stunning, and when they're in lockstep, you do not know what is lighting and what is projections or video. And what's so cool is they're both. I mean, you see them playing off each other's color palettes, you see them coming in and like having conversations about how they can light the scene in different ways, what Peter can't hit, Ken can hit, etc., etc. But Beetlejuice design would be nothing without those two working together. And obviously Dear Evan Hansen, Peter Negrini, also the projection designer for that show, his work I think is absolutely exquisite. Yes, I came up with the screens and the kind of floating, technological wind chime, but he created all that content from scratch, and it was so incredible to watch him refine it from like a workshop to Washington, D.C., to our off-Broadway production, then our Broadway production and the tour, and every single time I see something new in that video content, it's incredible. Let me see what else here. Other questions. Do you guys have other questions? Oh my God, how was it working on the design of Beetlejuice? First of all, thank you for mentioning it. Working on the design of Beetlejuice was perhaps the most challenging design I've ever worked on. It was like, first of all, I worked on it for 5.5 years, and the director, Alex Timbers, who also directed Peter and the Starcatcher and Rocky and Moulin Rouge, is one of like the great visionary directors working today. And he said to me in our very first meeting, I think this house is a character. This show is about people. This show is about people being trapped inside a house, and so this house needs to be a character. But the thing about Beetlejuice is, by the way, we're in my office right now, so I have so many different things here of Beetlejuice. But oh God, look at this. Here's the 1/2-inch model of the. Like this is when he flipped around. Anyway, he said, the house needs to be a character, and it needs to evolve. When the Maitlands have it, then the Dietzes have it, then Beetlejuice takes over, and then it becomes a game show. And so he said, I really want all 4 walls, as much of the furniture, as much of the lighting fixtures, and everything to change. And so that show does not have one piece of scenery without lighting in it, projections on it, speakers, special effects, puppetry, illusions. I mean, it's insane, but it was probably the hardest effort and maybe the most satisfying design I've ever worked on. How long did it take to build? I don't know, 16 weeks maybe? It took 5.5 years to design and maybe 16 weeks to build. Can I tell you when Hamilton is coming back to Broadway? If I could tell you when Hamilton was coming back to Broadway, I could tell you when any show was coming back to Broadway, and unfortunately I can't. I think that like if everyone wears a mask and everyone gets vaccinated as quickly as possible and we all, do the right thing, it's possible in the fall. I think if we mess it up and these variants take over, who knows, maybe it's next year, but I'm hopeful for the fall. I'm thinking fall. And I want to give a shout out to Hamilton, Australia, which, because they had an amazing federal response, they are open. They're wearing masks in the theater. They open tonight. Tonight is opening night, Hamilton, Australia. We're incredibly proud of it. It is currently the only Hamilton in the entire world, which is exciting. What are the small sets made out of? The small sets are made out of like basically paper and cardboard. I mean, I don't know if you can tell. That's just like paper and glue. And this one's actually coming apart. Look at that. It's so sad. But we usually start with some sketches. I can show you guys some sketches. You guys want to see some fun things? So this is like a sketch of Hamilton. Oh, you can see that. There you go. There's a sketch of Hamilton. And then we work from sketch form, we go into rendering form and illustrations. In fact, that thing behind me is all made of model pieces. Excuse me. It's 100% made of model pieces, and maybe later I can go over there and show you some of them. But then we move into model form, and I can actually show you. I'm going to take this thing off this holder. Oh my God, it's getting crazy. Look, I don't know if you can see that, but there's the Hamilton model. And over here is the Mrs. Doubtfire model. Can you see that? And there's Dear Evan Hansen. And we make these things out of paper. You know, the truth is they're not precious. I know they are precious objects eventually, but we're not precious with those designs. We snap them together, we use them as tools because we want to show the director and the choreographer, the cast, and everyone what it is they're working on. And then, you know, like for instance, when we moved to Broadway from Hamilton, we only built a white model. And this is actually the proscenium of the white model from Hamilton. It actually broke and I was going to glue it back in, but I haven't had the chance to yet. If you could turn a set in your bedroom, what would that set for my bedroom be? Oy. You know, I like to keep work and private life as much private as possible, so I'm keeping my bedroom as my bedroom, and I'm keeping that separate from work. Thank you. I also wanted to. Do I have recommendations for creative direction? So listen, the thing is, people always ask me about like what it is that I did to get to where I was, and the truth is, I always think when someone asks you for advice, the more interesting response is not what, hey, do what I did, but rather what someone else should do. The truth is, no one can follow my particular trajectory because it was mine. But what I did was I got an internship at Williamstown Theater Festival, and I could quickly see what it was like to go from painting sets to being an assistant on sets to being an associate to being a designer and then working in the industry. And I sort of helped use that thing to meet people. And then I didn't go to graduate school. I immediately moved to New York and I started working as best I could with other designers. All right, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the Hamilton pool. Okay, the Hamilton pool. So whenever you research a founding father, inevitably you're gonna like come up with the Jefferson Memorial, the Washington Monument, and on and on and on. It was interesting that Hamilton didn't have a monument. So along with designing all the different locations that Hamilton goes to in the show, we were looking for a beautiful ending of the show. And so Tommy Kail and I were looking a lot at reflecting pools and things like that. And one idea that we had that we didn't go with, thank the Lord, is that we were going to actually flood the entire stage with water at the end of the show. Then we slowly started to play with like, oh, maybe we could do like a long skinny reflecting pool or maybe a big wide reflecting pool. But then of course we knew we were gonna have the turntables in the show. So we had this inner tiny circle inside the middle turntable. And we thought it'd be cool if at the end of the show, we finally gave Hamilton this monument and we actually teched it into the show. We had two of the founding fathers pick up one section, two pick up another section. So it left like this little bridge. And then Eliza walked across the bridge as the turntables were rotating, and she met Alexander there. The water was, and then they pulled up that center bridge. So we had a clear circle. And like we saw the water, the lights were reflecting into their faces. It was very, very beautiful and poetic. But the reason why we cut it was because at the end of the show, people, instead of saying, who lives, who dies, who tells your story, people were asking, instead of who lives, who dies, who tells your story, or have I done enough, they were asking, is that heavy? Is that real water? Oh my God, was that there the whole time? Was it sloshing around? And it completely took you out of the moment of why the heck you were watching the end of the show. And so Tommy Kail looked at me right after that third preview and said, it's so beautiful. We're cutting it. We're cutting the pool. And that, like, he said that to me like 32 seconds before we went into the production meeting. And then inevitably at the production meeting, he just said, we're cutting the pool. We drained it, we blocked it up, and we played for the rest of the entirety of the entire off-Broadway run with a drained pool underneath the floor, which was kind of an exciting little secret. 3 preview performances saw it and never to be seen again. But interestingly, if you want to see something, the model, if you look closely in the middle, you can see that extra little circle. So there's the outside turntable, there's the middle turntable, and that is actually the reflecting pool still there from the model because, of course, when we built the model, we had the pool in it. Oh my God! Someone just put like crazy flowers and insane things in the comments, which was like super exciting. Someone's asking me about someone with no journalism school. How can they write? No journalism experience, write for community theater shows. I don't really know. Although I would say, I always feel like if you are ambitious and you believe in yourself, and you go and speak to people who do the thing that you want to do, who are like 8 years, 10 years in front of you, and go talk to them and ask them about how it is that they got to do what they're going to do. I'm sure that go find a journalist. The way that I said, go find a designer if you want to be a designer. That's just my thought. I have no idea. Happy Friday, you guys. Other thoughts, feelings, emotions? Oh, do I have book recommendations? So, well, now, like the greatest resource, of course, is the internet. But when I was coming up, there were 2 books called American Set Design 1 and American Set Design 2. And I don't know if you know those books, but it was like they profile designers, like each one gets their own chapter, and I think there's maybe 10 or 12. And I remember reading that thing like it was like our version of the Set Design Bible. And I read this thing, and then when I went to Williamstown as an intern, I started to meet these designers, like these people literally whose work seemed to jump off the page for me. They started showing up. And then the crazy thing is, like the people who were in American Set Design 2, they're kind of like, I don't know, 10 years older than me. So they really were showing up, and I was really working with them and for them in many cases. And so I felt so honored to get to meet these kind of heroes. Now, of course, we all just sit there and Google. But, if you're in New York, I always feel like the best way to do this is to like go see a show that you love, find a designer whose work that you love, and then reach out to them. How do I get my ideas for the set? So the process for designing a set is it is the exact same as whether you work on a rock show or a restaurant or an experience or whatever. It always starts with an early conversation with your main collaborator. So in the course of a restaurant, it's the restaurateur. A pop star, if you're working with Lady Gaga, you're sitting down and talking to Lady Gaga or Bruno Mars or whoever it is. And if you're doing a theater show, you're sitting down and talking to the writer or the director. And so you kind of find out like what is their idea, their grand vision for how they want to conceive of the show. And then from there, you do a ton of research. I mean, a ton. And I like to do it in 2 different kinds of research. One is like the hyper-realistic version, like not abstract at all. Like what would every single location in Hamilton be? The cool thing about Hamilton is you can go to almost every single location. You can go to the Schuyler Mansion still. You can go to all those different places. And then I like to do a bunch of abstract research, like I don't know why, but I kind of imagine like foundations for Hamilton because they're building the foundation of the country. And so you sort of put those 2 things together and mash them up. And oftentimes I get an idea from conversation and research. Are you interested in, what was the last show you guys saw before the pandemic happened? What's the first thing you guys want to do when it comes back? I could take a couple more questions. What are you guys most looking forward to? Where are you guys? Who are you guys? What the heck is happening? What's my favorite show that I've ever worked on? I have no way to answer that. But I will say that like doing Hamilton and Dear Evan Hansen back to back, both at the same time, and then they were in 2 different calendar years on Broadway, something about those two shows winning Tonys back to back and being part of each of those brands, those show families, and kind of bringing them back across the country and the world has been the most extraordinary kind of 1-2 punch. Because in a way, Hamilton and Dear Evan Hansen happening next to each other have changed completely. Theater subscriptions around the country were kind of dead, and now they're up like 800% because you couldn't get a ticket unless you to those shows unless you bought a subscription. And so walking into those theaters and seeing people who have bought their tickets like 4 or 5 years and waiting for them, they're so excited, and somehow those shows have made theater cool again. Theater at the center of the conversation. It was crazy to see like my friends become like superstars during those experiences, and it's like been a kind of out of body experience watching that all happen. Really amazing. Yes, I mean like. Yeah. Right. Well, right. So you're answering. Okay. Everyone's answering the questions of like what you saw last, what you want to see. By the way, I want to see Hadestown also. I wish Once on This Island was still around. I didn't see it this time around, which is a huge bummer. But I heard it was a spectacular production. So I think I have time for a couple more questions. If anyone wants to ask any. And I was thinking I would walk you guys over here and we're gonna play a little game. Okay, so these are some shows that I've worked on. Can anyone guess what that is from? Anyone? I'll give you a hint. Don't Cry for Me, Arjun. Yeah? Okay, yes, you got it, good. Okay, great. What about this one here? Does anyone know what that one's from? That's the Motown M. Yes. Okay, let's go over here. This one's like, I don't know, anyone see the revival of Annie on Broadway? That's the Laundry from Annie. This one's really obscure. Can anyone see that? Those like lights there? Did anyone see the production of Bring It On? That was from Bring It On. This is from a show, Passing Strange, right here. That's the light wall from Passing Strange. And this right here is the first ever, this is Hamilton, the workshop production of Hamilton. When we were conceiving of Hamilton, we didn't know if we were gonna have, hadn't landed on the design yet of what it wound up becoming. And so we thought, it might be interesting to kind of make platforms. That'd be so cool to like make platforms. And so we actually designed them to be on wheels. And so Andy Blankenbuehler, the choreographer, was playing around with like what it would be like to move all of these platforms around. We realized it was such a huge headache and we didn't need to move them around. So we decided to like just let them sit there and kind of park it, which was kind of cool and exciting. Any more questions? I feel as though my somewhere between 5 minutes and an hour is Someone Loves Bring It On. I love that show too. And by the way, that show written by Amanda Green, Tom Kitt, Lin-Manuel Miranda, directed by Andy Blankenbuehler, choreographed by Andy Blankenbuehler, filled with, go look at that cast list, filled with people who went on to have like monster careers. That show was so far ahead of its time. It was kind of crazy. Anyway, I am going, my God, I'm going back into the comments, and everyone got Evita, everyone got Motown. Congratulations, you're all stars. So I don't think this needs to be the end of our conversation. This can actually be the beginning of our conversation. If you guys are interested in behind the scenes stuff, that's basically what my Instagram account, what my TikTok account is. I try and use my like front row seat at watching all these processes happen. I kind of peel back the curtain on how we make it. I'm really proud of all the collaborations that I get to have and all the cool things that we get to make. I mean, this is a piece of the Mrs. Doubtfire set design. These are based on the Painted Ladies in San Francisco. And this is kind of like, I think this is kind of a piece of art by itself. Of course, this winds up becoming, a big piece of scenery that we all see in the show and we love. But I like to use my Instagram platform, which is just my name, David Korins, and I like to use it to show people how we can go from like this tiny little sketch into Dear Evan Hansen. And I really always appreciated kind of like behind the scenes stuff. And so that's what I try and do. So if you like that stuff, come on over and check it out. Also, I can go much, much deeper in these kind of like talkbacks and things like that on my account. I'm happy to see that you're an aspiring set designer and you're focused on construction and building. I actually believe that if you come up designing and building, or doing props and building and construction, that it actually helps you think about things like an engineer. One of the problems that I think designers get into all the time is when they say like, oh, and I want it to be big, and I want it to be blue, and I want it to like float, and then the technical directors are like, yeah, but how is that going to happen? How are we going to make that happen? And I never try and put an idea out on piece of paper or out to the room that I don't know at least a couple of different ways it can be engineered or put together. And so I think it's great that you're learning construction. If you do wind up becoming a designer, even though you won't have to build the stuff yourself, it's going to completely help the way that you think and build stuff. Because if you can build it, you know how it's put together, and then you're going to be much more successful. How did you do the moving tables in Dear Evan Hansen? Okay. Oh, you mean these tables right here? So Dear Evan Hansen, I told you the idea was kind of like these like little floating lily pads of life. I really thought that because the show needed to move seamlessly from one location to the other, it would be cool to make two discs, what we call discs, and one that we use often for the bedrooms and one that we use for the Murphy's dining room table. And what I thought was kind of cool about it is they actually come in on a curved track. So they kind of go in and then they track down towards the audience to sit sort of center stage, and they kind of go back and forth like that. They can come from both sides. And what's kind of great about them is because there's only a couple pieces of furniture on them, we can take them off stage, redress them, and have them come back on. And the idea just came to me. I sort of thought like Evan's world should be one that's like constantly shifting, and he should be sitting there like these little tiny warm homes, but in this kind of like infinite kind of murky darkness that only technology and all that stuff would be able to penetrate. And so that's how we did it. I mean, listen, so someone asked me about what the details about all the dressing and the bottles and the things next to Evan's bed. Think about how much storytelling, there are no mistakes in theater, only happy accidents. And every single thing that shows up, whether it's dressing in Hamilton, I'm thinking about Hamilton because I'm looking at the model, or Dear Evan Hansen, we had, the reason why I chose this cubby bed was because, first of all, I thought it would kind of be like the bed that Evan had when he was growing up, and now, of course, he's a teenager. But I also thought there's no space to tell any like storytelling. And so I actually, all the things there's like a bag of Funyuns, there's like specific little things that like tell you if you're staring at it, and you shouldn't be staring at it because you should be enjoying the show. But if you are staring at it, I wanted to give you a real sense of who he was. And it was like our little tiny cubby of like things that Evan would have inside his house. Speaking of things that you have inside your house, I'm just gonna show you this real quick. So here's the Beetlejuice model. And one of the things that's cool about the Beetlejuice model, this one's in 1/2 inch scale. It's in 1/2 inch scale because it was so intricate and complicated to make. But if you look, we made our own custom wallpaper based on that flower is a Tim Burton sketch. He did it like, it was like, I think it was from a print of one of the dresses from one of his other random illustrations. And we actually took it, we made our own wallpaper, and then I actually drew onto all of the wallpaper, making those hand-drawn squiggly lines. And then once we created a pattern, we then made the pattern of the wallpaper, and we actually printed it out, and then we wallpapered the actual house, which was kind of cool because we really wanted to give it this hand-drawn quality. And if you can see closely, you can see all those black lines. It's actually hand-drawn with pen onto the model, and then we painted it like that in design, in the real world. So what's the difference between a set designer and a set dresser? Well, in the theater, there is no such thing as a set dresser. There are props people and there are stagehands, but in film, there are set dressers. And in film, there are rarely set designers, there are production designers. So just the vernacular. The set designer or the production designer kind of comes up with the concept, works with the director to conceive of the show, and then works with a team of artisans to make the environment. The set dresser or the props person, it's their job to sort of find all the stuff to populate the actual design and then make it a reality. And so the set dressers on Broadway, who added all those tiny little details into all those sets, they went out, they shopped for it, and then they went, and then usually it's my job as the designer to stand there and sort of say, oh, it'd be cool to like do a little moment here. And that's one of my favorite times in the theater, is when you get to like layer in all those layers of storytelling. It is so cool and so satisfying, because every one of these spaces is kind of owned emotionally by someone, meaning a character in the story. Beetlejuice's house, we got to do it several times over. Like, who are the Maitlands? What do they like? What did they not like, but what do they have in their house? Where did they buy it? You start to like create all these stories that are not in the script. Sometimes the clues are in the script, but you get to do that all. That's what I'm doing with these stupid phones and everything, because they're from sets that I created once, and I have to take them home. So that's the difference with that. So someone's asking questions about the walls of Beetlejuice. Okay. God, there's a lot of questions. Okay, so how do I get designs out of my head once I've thought about them? I make them. And once you make them, kind of like when you have a song stuck in your head, if you finish the song, usually you're done with that. As far as the walls for Beetlejuice, the cool thing about the way we figured out the Beetlejuice thing was, if you look at the set closely, you can see that there's like a baseboard here. The floor never changes, and the baseboard never changes, and the top crown molding never changes. But all the wall surfaces change. And so that video that I posted earlier, we made a whole bunch of facings that kind of go in. They stick in here below the baseboard, and then they magnet in and stick to the wall. And then the house tracks back. We play a scene in the attic or somewhere else, the netherworld, and then backstage, the set, people are changing the set, and they're putting new sections of the wall on, or they're taking new sections, or they're taking sections off, and then the curtain rises and the house comes back down. And that's how we came up with it. So I'm going to take a couple more questions, and then I'm going to leave you, because it's Friday night. You shouldn't be hanging out with me. What programs do I design in? My office works in Vectorworks mostly. Some people do AutoCAD. When we work in Europe and Asia, oftentimes we have to be in AutoCAD, but we primarily work in Vectorworks, all computer drafting. And then we use like the Adobe suite and Illustrator and all that stuff for, people come on and they say, hi. It's like, hi. People come on and they break my train of thought. That's what winds up happening. And I realized that I was talking about Illustrator and Photoshop and things like that. How many scale rulers do I own? Holy cow. Well, before the pandemic, I probably owned, 30 of them. My very favorite one was one that I've had forever. I don't even know where I got it. It was a yellow one, and it was totally worn. And it was like the one that I used in my office. And now almost all of it's in storage, and I only have a couple with me at my house, but there's probably 4 at my house. Oh my God, cheers, how many olives? Someone is asking me about martinis. Martinis are my favorite drink. Bombay Sapphire up with extra olives. And there really is no amount. When I say extra olives, it's sort of a thing that happens. I go around the country or the world or wherever I am, and whenever I order that drink, I say extra olives. And I think it's so interesting to see what extra olives means. Sometimes people give you 2, as though like the standard is 1 and they're thinking it's extra with 2, which is insane. Extra has to be 3 or more, in my opinion. But if someone gives me 5 or 6, I'm into it. Oh my God, you're welcome for, I was happy and pleased to watch your waitress video. Totally amazing. Oh my God, I'm so happy that Jesus loves me. Awesome. Easter's coming, Passover's coming, Ramadan's coming. It's super exciting. You're welcome for noticing your videos. Listen, I'm gonna wind down, but here's what I will say. This is a really crazy time in the world, and there's so much toxicity online in particular, but in the world. And I cannot wait for the theater to come back, because I'm hoping and praying and dreaming that all the writers and creative forces in the world are busy making extraordinary work to meet this moment. But also, I like to only push out positivity, process, goodwill, love online. If you want to come over to my accounts, I promise you, you're not going to see hateful things. You're going to see total inclusion. You're going to see love for everyone, equality. We should take care of each other. We are all, as you know, just like floating on this tiny little rock. We are so self-serious. And if there's been anything that the pandemic has taught me, it is to be grateful and humble. I think I had 25 shows running around the country and the world that all shut down. This has been a really humbling and extraordinary time. And it's amazing that every single person watching this or reading this is living this together. And not all two pandemics are created equal. Some people are really struggling. Some people are thriving and like out living their best lives. But the one amazing thing is that we all tonight are brought together by theater. I want to thank the people at Broadway World for, encouraging me to do this. I want to thank all of you guys for coming together. And this, as I said, doesn't have to be the end of this. This can be the beginning of a conversation. But like, start a conversation with me and do it in a positive, beautiful way. I will meet you where you are. I am honored and humbled that you guys are all here. And I am thrilled to talk to you about theater, design, creation, storytelling, narrative, coffee, martinis, or anything else. Join me again. It's funny, as I was saying, a lot of people are joining, so I'll just say this. I was actually just texting a friend of mine who is a prominent theater artist. And she was saying that, I was saying, I'm about to go live. I can't really talk right now. I'm about to go live. And I was saying, we should go live together. And so I might do this more frequently on my platform, and I can really dig deep into like all these cool things. I've seen some pretty cool shows get made. And so we can, talk shop and do the thing. Anyway, thank you so much for coming. I'm gonna sign off if I can even figure this thing out. I learned out how to go live 2 seconds ago before I started, so I'm going to try. I'm gonna try to get out of here, and if I can't get out of here, I'll just sit here awkwardly. But I'm gonna try. So anyway, I love you all. Thank you so much for joining, and have a great night.